Damn. I had lost my violet glasses. Yeah. Nice and dark in here. Very, very dark. A kind of late-night languor lying over everything. A club of some sort. I didn't know. I didn't care. Drink, sir? Lazy, arrogant face. I named him mineral water. And as soon as he sat down the glass, I dipped my fingers into it and washed them. He was gone already. Wouldn't have cared if I had started baptizing babies with this water. Other customers were scattered at tables in the darkness. A woman crying in some far-off corner, and a man telling her harshly that she was attracting attention. She wasn't. Nobody gave a damn. I washed my mouth off with a napkin and water. More water, I said. I pushed the polluted glass away from me, sluggish. He acknowledged my request. Young blood, bland personality. And then drifted off. I heard a little laugh nearby. The man to my right. 2 stools away, perhaps who'd been there when I came in. Youngish, scentless, utterly scentless, which was most strange. In annoyance, I turned and I looked at him. Going to run again, he whispered. It was the victim. It was Roger, sitting there on the stool. He wasn't broken or battered or dead. He was complete with his head and his hands. He wasn't there. He only appeared to be there. Very solid and very quiet. And he smiled at me, thrilled by my terror. What's the matter, Lestat? He asked in that voice I so loved after 6 months of listening to it. No one in all these centuries has ever come back to haunt you? I said nothing. Not there. No, not there. Material, but not the same material as anything else. David's word. Different. Fabric. I stiffened. That's a pathetic understatement. I was rigid with rage. He got up and moved over onto the stool close to me. He was getting more distinct and detailed by the second. Now I could catch something like a sound coming from him. A sound of something alive or organized, but certainly no breathing. And in a few minutes more, I'll be strong enough to perhaps ask for a cigarette or a glass of wine, he said. He reached into his coat, a favorite coat, not the one in which I'd killed him, another coat made from him in Paris that he liked, and he drew out his flashy little gold lighter and made the flame shoot up, very blue and dangerous, butane. He looked at me. I could see that his black curly hair was combed, his eyes very clear. Handsome Roger. His voice sounded exactly the way it had when he was alive. International, originless, New Orleans born, and world traveled. His precise, quick voice. I'm quite serious, he said. You mean in all these years not one single victim has ever come back to haunt you? No, I said. You're amazing. You really won't tolerate being afraid for a moment, will you? No. Now he appeared completely solid, and I had no idea whether anyone else could see him. No idea, but I suspected they could. He looked like anyone might look. I could see the buttons on his white cuffs and the soft white flash of his collar at the back of his neck, where the fine hair came down over it. I could see his eyelashes, which had always been extraordinarily long. The bartender returned and set down the water glass for me. Without looking at him, I still wasn't sure. The kid was too rude for that to be proof of anything except that I was in New York. How are you doing this? I asked. The same way any other ghost does, he said. I'm dead. I've been dead for over an hour and a half now, and I have to talk to you. I don't know how long I can stay here. I don't know when I'll start to... God knows what. But you have to listen to me. Why? I demanded. Don't be so nasty, he whispered, appearing truly hurt. You murdered me. And you? The people you've killed? Dora's mother? She ever come back to demand an audience with you? Oh, I knew it, he said. He was visibly shaken. You know about Dora. God in heaven, take my soul to hell, but don't let him hurt Dora. Stop being absurd. I wouldn't hurt Dora. It was you I was after. I followed you around the world. If it hadn't been for a passing respect for Dora, I would have killed you long before now. The bartender had reappeared. This brought the most ecstatic smile to my companion's lips. He looked right at the kid. Yes, my dear boy, let me see. The very last drink, unless I'm very badly mistaken, make it bourbon. I grew up in the South. What do you have? No, I'll tell you what. Just make it Southern Comfort. His laugh was private and convivial and soft. The bartender moved on, and Roger turned his furious eyes on me. You have to listen to me. Whatever the hell you are, vampire, demon, devil, I don't care. You cannot hurt my daughter. I don't intend to hurt her. I would never hurt her. Go on to hell, you'll feel better. Good night. You smug son of a bitch. How many years do you think I had? Droplets of sweat were breaking out on his face. His hair was moving, a little in a natural draft through the room. I couldn't give less of a damn, I said. You were a meal worth waiting for. You've got quite a swagger, don't you? He said. But you're nothing as shallow as you pretend to be. Oh, you don't think so? Try me. You may find me as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. That gave him pause. It gave me pause too. Where did those words come from? Why did they just roll off my tongue like that? I was not likely to use that sort of imagery. He was absorbing all this. My preoccupation, my obvious self-doubt. How did it manifest itself, I wonder? Did I sag or fade slightly as some mortals do, or did I merely look confused? The bartender gave him the drink. He was trying to put his fingers around it and lift it. He managed and got it to his lips and took a taste. He was amazed and thankful and suddenly so full of fear that he almost disintegrated. The illusion was almost completely dispersed, but he held firm. This was so obviously the person I had just killed, hacked to pieces and buried all over Manhattan, that I felt physically sick staring at him. I realized only one thing was saving me from panic. He was talking to me. What had David said once, when he was alive, about talking to me? That he wouldn't have killed the vampire because the vampire could have talked to him? And this damned ghost was talking to me. I have to talk to you about Dora. I told you I would never hurt her or anyone like her, I said. Look, what are you doing here with me? When you appeared and you didn't even know that I knew about Dora. You wanted to tell me about Dora? Depth. I've been murdered by a being with depth. How fortunate. Someone who actually keenly appreciates my death. No? He drank more of the sweet-smelling Southern Comfort. This was Janis Joplin's drink, you know, he said, referring to the dead singer whom I, too, had loved. Look, listen to me out of curiosity. I don't give a damn, but listen. I want you to know really who I was, not what you might think. I want you to look out for Dora. And then there's something back at the flat. There's something I want you to... Veronica's veil in the frame? No, that's trash. I mean, it's 4 centuries old, of course, but it's a common version of Veronica's veil. If you have enough money. You did look around my place, didn't you? Why do you want to give that veil to Dora? I asked. This sobered him appropriately. You heard us talking. Countless times. He was conjecturing, weighing things. He looked entirely reasonable, his dark Asian face evincing nothing but sincerity and great care. Did you say look out for Dora? I asked. Is it what you asked me to do? Look out for her? Now that's another proposition. And why the hell do you want to tell me the story of your life? You're running through your personal after-death judgment with the wrong guy. I don't care how you got the way you were. The things at the flat. Why would a ghost care about such things? This was not wholly honest on my part. I was being far too flippant, and we both knew. Of course he'd cared about his treasures, but it was Dora that made him rise from the dead. His hair was a deeper black now, and the coat had taken on more texture. I could see the weave of the silk and the cashmere in it. I could see his fingernails, professionally manicured, very neat and buffed. Same hands I threw in the garbage. I don't think all these details had been visible moments ago. Jesus Christ, I whispered. He laughed. You're more afraid than I am. Where are you? What are you talking about? He asked. I'm sitting right next to you. Or in a village bar. What do you mean? As for my body, you know where you dumped it as well as I. That's why you're haunting me. Absolutely not. Couldn't give less of a damn about that body. Felt that way the moment I left it. You know all this. No, I mean, what realm are you in now? What is it? Where are you? What did you see when you went? He shook his head with the saddest smile. You know the answer to all that. I don't know where I am. Something's waiting for me. However, I'm fairly certain of that. Something's waiting. Perhaps it's merely dissolution, darkness, but it seems personal. I'm not going to wait forever, but I don't know how I know. And I don't know why I'm being allowed to get through to you, whether it's sheer will, my will, of which I have a great deal, by the way, or whether it's some sort of grant or moments. I don't know. But I went after you. I followed you from the flat and back to it and then out with the body, and I came here and I have to talk to you. I'm not going to go without a struggle until I've spoken with you. Something's waiting for you? I whispered. This was awe, plain and simple. And then after we have had our chat, if you don't dissolve, where exactly are you going to go? He shook his head and glared at the bottle on the center rack. Flood of light, color, labels. Tiresome, he said crossly. Shut up. It had a sting to it. Shut up. Telling me to shut up. I can't go looking out for your daughter, I said. What do you mean? He threw an angry glance at me and took another sip of his drink, then gestured to the bartender for another. Are you going to get drunk? I asked. I don't think I can. You have to look out for her. It's all going to go public, don't you see? I have enemies who will kill her for no reason. And that's... You don't know how careful I've been, and you don't know how rash she is, how much she believes in divine providence. And then there's government, the hounds of government, and my things, my relics, my books. I was fascinated for about 3 seconds. I'd utterly forgotten that he was a ghost. Now my eyes gave me no evidence of it. None. But he was scentless, and the faint sound of life that emanated from him still had little to do with real lungs or a real heart. All right, let me be blunt, he said. I'm afraid for her. She has to get through notoriety. Enough time has to pass for my enemies to forget about her. Most of them don't know about her, but somebody might. Somebody's bound to know if you knew. Not necessarily. I'm not a human being. You have to guard her. I can't do such a thing. I won't. Lestat, will you listen to me? I don't want to listen. I want you to go. I know you do. Look, I never meant to kill you. I'm sorry. It was all a mistake. I should have picked someone. My hands were shaking. Oh, how fascinating all this would sound later. And right now I begged for God. Of all people, please make this stop. All of it. Stop.